Welcome to Tutorial 9 on profiling with custom word lists. In this video, you'll learn how to use the custom list feature in MultilingProfiler to create lexical profiles using any word list you like, whether that's one you've downloaded or one you've built yourself in any language. If you're already familiar with the basics of vocabulary profiling, especially how to interpret lexical coverage, you're good to go. But if you're new to this, I'd recommend watching Tutorial 2 on frequency profiling or Tutorial 6 on curriculum profiling first to get a solid foundation. If you've watched earlier tutorials, you'll know that MultilingProfiler includes 3 types of built-in word lists for French, Spanish, and German: word frequency lists, curriculum-based lists aligned to GCSE exams in England, and cumulative syllabus-aligned lists. But what if you're working in a different language? Or with a different type of word list altogether? That's exactly what the custom list option is for. Once you select it, all the settings for the other list types disappear. That's because profiling will now be based solely on the list that you upload. That could be a published word list, a list from a textbook or a national curriculum, or a list that you've created yourself. To walk through how this works, I'm going to use an advanced English text, an excerpt from a research article on lexical profiling. Research on academic reading shows that learners of English need about 95% coverage for basic comprehension, and closer to 98% for full understanding. So, how many words does it take to reach those targets? For this demo, I'm going to be using the BNC COCA word family lists by Paul Nation. These are a widely used resource for analysis of English texts and are available for free on Paul Nation's website. When you open the folder, you'll find word lists grouped into bands of 1,000 word families, all the way up to word family number 30,000. Each file contains the head word for the word family and its inflected and derived forms on the right. If those terms, head word, word family, inflected, and derived, are new to you, I'd recommend going back to tutorials 3, 4, and 5, where they're explained in detail. We'll start by profiling the text using just the 1,000 most frequent word families. To do that, just copy the list and paste it into the custom list box. That gives us about 67% coverage, so well short of the coverage needed to understand an academic paper. Adding the 2,000 band takes us to 75.3%, 3,000 gets us to 89%, 4,000 brings us to 90.1%, and 5,000 lifts the coverage to 93.4%, which is close, but not quite there. Before we go any further, let's take a quick look at the words that still aren't listed. Some are compound words that we can split to get more accurate results, and there are some capital letters, A, B, and C, marking research questions. These can either be removed or added manually to the word list, depending on your preferences. With those tweaks made, we're now reaching the 95% coverage mark, suggesting that learners who know the most frequent 5,000 word families could follow this academic text with a basic understanding. The words that are still left are mostly technical vocabulary, some tied clearly to the topic of lexical profiling. Let's see if a few more bands will cover that and get us to that 98% target. So we're up to 96.2% with band 6, and there's another slight increase with the words in band 7. And with band 8, yep, that gets us to that 98% target, telling us that learners who know the 8,000 most frequent word families should be able to comprehend this academic text fully. Okay, so that wraps up our look at profiling an English academic text using the BNC COCA lists. Now I'm going to switch to a different kind of example, this time using a TreeTagger-Tagged list in French. If your word list is tagged this way, you'll see an additional checkbox appear that enables the Remove Inflected Forms option. This feature lets you filter out grammatical forms that your learners haven't been taught yet, giving you more control over what the profiler counts as known. We look at that Removed Inflected Forms feature in more detail in Tutorial 4. For now, to demonstrate how it works, I'm going to profile a short section from a literary text, specifically a passage from Cendrillon, the French version of Cinderella. A good source of tagged word lists like this is the IRIS database, which includes research-informed vocabulary lists designed for beginner to low intermediate learners. These lists align with the requirements for the GCSE exams in England and are discussed in more detail in tutorial 6. Here's what a tagged version of the higher tier listening list looks like. You'll see that words have a tag with codes indicating the part of speech, so V for verb, N for noun, and so on, and then more detail on what kind of verb or noun it is, singular, plural, first person, the tense, the mood, and so on. Just copy the list again into your custom list box. That allows you to opt out of grammatical forms that your learners haven't studied yet, giving you a more accurate profile. Another really helpful use of the custom list, beyond checking the overall coverage, is to search for target vocabulary items in a text. This is especially helpful when you want to locate a reading passage that includes exactly the words or the grammar points that your learners are working on at a given point in the curriculum. For example, here's a set of words that are introduced in the final week of Term 1 in the Year 6 French syllabus from the Oak Academy, which follows the AQA specifications for the GCSE exam. As you can see, there's a clear theme of environment and climate change running through these words. So let's see if we can find an authentic text that includes rich examples of these words in context. To do that, I started by pasting all of the target words into Google to bring up possible articles. This one here looks promising. It's called How to Fight Climate Change in 5 Steps. To check it, I'm going to copy the whole article and paste it into the profiling window. For the version of the word list that goes into the custom list, I've used an expanded version of that vocabulary list with all the inflected forms on it. We call that a phlegma-based list. So it includes not just the base forms that appear on the syllabus, but also all the inflected forms like verb conjugations that learners have been taught at this point in the curriculum. These are easy to add using a resource like Word Reference. It takes about 10 minutes to put a list like this together and copy all of the forms across. Now let's see if this text contains useful clusters of these target items. Straight away, we can see 6 of them appearing in quick succession in the first paragraph, so this section looks rich already. We've even got both meanings of terre in context, as both the planet Earth and Earth in the sense of soil or ground. Scrolling down, the middle section of the article looks like it's a bit less relevant, so I'll keep going for now. Near the end, we hit a really useful cluster again. We see a new topic comes in, plastic, and some more target terms that didn't appear in the other section we spotted. Pollution, éviter, to avoid, réduire, to reduce, planète, planet, and others. Okay, then the final paragraph seems to be less relevant again. So I'd definitely consider using this article. I'd perhaps remove the middle section and the last paragraph, and then lightly adapt the rest of the text if needed. It could make a really relevant and engaging reading text for that target week if I did that, I think. If you're interested in designing your own word lists, or learning more about the thinking behind existing word lists, check out the links below this video. They'll take you to Oasis summaries of peer-reviewed research, written in clear, accessible language. In the next tutorial, we're going to switch gears slightly and take a closer look at the statistics panel below the main profiling window. We'll ask, what do the figures in this statistics tables tell us, beyond just coverage?